If you want to be the number one, if you want to be the very best, like they said in Pokemon, you're going to keep your mouth shut. You're not going to fucking watch influencers. You're not going to fucking watch all these people. You're going to pursue your path, and you're not going to make it a social thing. Because when you make it a social thing, you're trying to tell the socius, you're trying to tell the social community that you're entitled to it. You're not fucking entitled to being number one. You're not fucking entitled to being as rich as Andrew Tate. You're not fucking entitled to having a Bugatti, right? You're not entitled to a Bugatti. So if you want a fucking Bugatti, you're not going to be getting one by listening to someone like Andrew Tate or anyone else for that matter. You're not going to get one by listening to anyone on the internet that's tailored to a mass audience. You're going to be pursuing your own fucking course of action. You're going to be pursuing your own life according to its own laws and your own experiences. And you're going to do it in silence. And the reason you're going to fucking do it in silence is... So what we're dealing with here, if you want to condense this down or break this down into something as simple as possible, you're dealing with a situation where people don't know how to rely on their intuitions anymore. People don't know how to rely on their fucking instincts anymore, and they're looking for answers to fulfill their lives, looking for answers to, live their lives from internet influencers and personalities and, and aesthetics and fucking guidebooks and manuals, and they actually don't know how to actually have experience. I do think it's a shame because these young... Like, you don't understand what Andrew Tate's talking about until you actually go through the process of, in middle school or high school, have your heart broken or something. It's actually healthy, You got to go through that process, and then it'll teach you how to be, it'll teach you the parameters that you're dealing with in life. I think it's a healthy thing, right? But people who are going to prevent themselves from having those fundamental experiences of getting hurt and understanding... what your limitations... See, this is a critique I'm going to make of Andrew Tate that I've not seen anybody make, okay? My critique of him, it's not that I think, he's misogynist, and I don't give a fuck about any of that, right? My critique is going to be this. I think that since his audience is so young, they don't actually understand what he's saying, right? So what's going on is that they're going to adopt what he's saying as just like a cool aesthetic... and then they're going to apply that to their lives, which is actually going to prevent them from acquiring all of the fundamental experiences that are necessary in order to even validate what he's saying. So basically, they're basically turning Andrew Tate into not a replacement for their dad, but a replacement for their mom. You have to understand, within Lacan's terms, right? The sphere of the imaginary, in which we look for satisfaction in images and we search for satisfaction in, visual aesthetics, things like that. Images, right? That belongs to the sphere in which the child is attached to the mother, right? The castrative sphere, which is where the father comes in, which is the sphere of the symbolic order, that's going to figure into the child's development when they are forced to confront the fact that they cannot find satisfaction in any image, when the image is inherently lacking and that it's somewhere else and somewhere beyond. And that beyond is the signifier, or Lacan calls it the signifier, the master signifier, right? That's the beyond. So there's also the word in the Bible, and they say the word, right? Pretty much dealing with the same thing. So that's the problem. Andrew Tate he's being a mother to the youth. He's not being a father. Because what a father has the function of doing is turning men into fathers. A real father turns men into fathers. A real man allows you to become a father yourself. If you have someone as just like this aesthetic personality from a distance, you are never going to be that. It's always just going to be this like, I'll never be as cool as Andrew Tate. Yeah, but that, this is actually kind of like when Lacan says a woman is just another name for the name of the father. Now, why does he say that? Because in the same way that young people feel like, I'll never be as cool as Andrew Tate. It's like transcendent, right? It's also like, I'll never be able to date Kim Kardashian. It's like a transcendent ideal that's out there instead of something that like translates into an actual change, an actual effect in your life, right? The only time you can actually have an effect in your life is when you become the Andrew Tate. Only when you become Andrew Tate is there an effect. But you can't become Andrew Tate. Why? Because you're never going to fucking be that rich. You're never going to be that confident. You're not going to be the fucking world champion kickboxer. It's not going to fucking happen. And if it is going to happen, you're not going to search for someone else to, like, make that true. You're not going to, like, look at some... If you want to be the number one, if you want to be the very best, like they said in Pokemon, you're going to keep your mouth shut. You're not going to fucking watch influencers. You're not going to fucking watch all these people. You're going to pursue your path, and you're not going to make it a social thing. Because when you make it a social thing, you're trying to tell the socius, you're trying to tell the social community that you're entitled to it. You're not fucking entitled to being number one. You're not fucking entitled to being as rich as Andrew Tate. You're not fucking entitled to having a Bugatti, right? You're not entitled to a Bugatti. So if you want a fucking Bugatti, you're not going to be getting one by listening to someone like Andrew Tate or anyone else for that matter. You're not going to get one by listening to anyone on the internet that's tailored to a mass audience. You're going to be pursuing your own fucking course of action. You're going to be pursuing your own life according to its own laws and your own experiences. And you're going to do it in silence. And the reason you're going to fucking do it in silence is because there's no reason to talk about it because no one else owes you that fucking Bugatti. If you get that fucking Bugatti, that's because of your own effort. That's because of what you put in silence, without telling anyone anything, without asking anyone of anything, and without making it socially relevant at all in any capacity whatsoever. And if you want to ask me, that's what manhood is. Manhood is this. It's when you keep your mouth shut. Being a man is not when you're talking. Being a man is when you're not talking. Being a man is when your family's in danger and you act. You don't speak, you act. That's what being a man is to me, right? So being able to actually... if you want to be the best, if you want to be extraordinary, if you want to be the very best version of you, you have to do it in silence. You can't do it by emulating a personality you see on the fucking internet. You have to do it yourself, okay? And then here's the most important thing when it comes to that, okay? The most important thing that you have to take away from this as well is that the grand majority of us are not going to be one. We can't all be number one. We can't all be the very best. We're going to fall somewhere in a hierarchy, right? We're going to fall somewhere in a spectrum that's not going to be at the very top. 99% of us. You could still be the best version of you, but this is what it means to be a man. First of all, to be a child means you have a guaranteed entitled baseline. That's a child, right? A man's got to make his own life, be the best version of himself, and then end up somewhere on that hierarchy. And you will reach a glass ceiling eventually where you just be like, I gotta retire. I gotta retire it because we don't all live forever, right? And that's what I'm trying to say is that's okay. It's okay that you could just be average, right? You should never be content with being average because the minute you're content is the minute you stop trying to be the best version of yourself, right? But there's no reason to try and think that you have to be number one for its own sake. Usually the people that end up being number one are not the people who think that I in particular deserve to be number one because it's me. It's the people who say I deserve to be number one because I have something to offer that no one else does. And you focus on the content of that. If you're a boxer, you focus on your love of boxing. You focus on your devotion to boxing. You don't focus on what you fucking see in the mirror to become number one. There's nothing about you that's fucking special in and of itself. It's your skill that makes you special. It's the art that makes you special. It's the technique that makes you special. It's not you. You are just like anyone else at the end of the day, right? It's the thing you're doing that you've fallen in love with that makes you want to be number one, right? And if you can't be number one, so be it. So be it. But at least you devoted yourself to what you loved. At least you devoted yourself to being the best version you can be. Not only the best version you can be, but you've devoted yourself to the best way you could fulfill doing the thing you believe in. Right? You fulfilled the best way of doing what you believe in. That's the most important thing in the world. The most important thing in the world isn't even being the best person. It's fulfilling the thing you believe in the best way you can. And if you can do that, you can die happy.